Right, so just got to a couple of minutes past 6, Lisbon time down here in the Algarve. Thank you to everyone that has joined so far. Tonight's an update on behalf of myself and Portugal.com, all about the Golden Visa. It's a regular feature now that I've been hosting for a little while now, for the last few months for Portugal.com, and there always seems to be something new to talk about. The news reports that are coming out, the latest updates. Confusing. There's a lot going on about what's been going on in the government, what's been going on in general around the Golden Visa program. Are the law changing? Is this? Is that? Hopefully, this evening I can help answer a lot of those questions. Here, certainly on the front line in Portugal, and as part of a very senior network of the different senior law firms, firstly involved with the Golden Visa. And the local government representatives as to what is likely to happen. So I should be able to give you an up-to-the-minute idea of what is happening with the Golden Visa. So that's the plan. I was going to cover off some of the basics. I think for those that are looking at the Golden Visa by now at this late stage, you should have a relatively good idea of what's involved within the process. But for those that are kind of at the beginning of their journey, I will be touching on the basics of what's involved. Do you qualify? Which family members can be involved? What is the process? What is the timeline? And I'll give you as much detail as I can. I'll also talk to you about the kind of current investment selection that's out there and what's currently available in light of the recent announcement. There hasn't been a lot of new developments in Portugal coming to market since the announcement back in February of the program coming to a close, but there is still some real good options out there. I'll also talk you through how you can qualify for the visa for less than €280,000. But the main focus for today is to get to a live Q&A. It's a chance for anyone to ask any questions that they have. And yeah, I shall do my best to answer all in as much detail as possible. You'll have my contact details at the end as well. Also the opportunity to schedule a personal meeting for any questions that you have on a one-to-one basis. Okay, so that's the plan. That's what we're going to look at today. For those that are not familiar with Holborn or have not logged into one of the Portugal.com webinars previously, my name is Jason Swan. I'm one of the senior partners here at Holborn Assets, and I consider myself to be somewhat of an expert in citizenship by investment. It is a department that we set up at Holborn around 6 years back, and Portugal is one of various different investment for citizenship programs that we offer. I'm also a fully regulated and qualified financial planner here in Portugal. Being an expat myself, I'm fully aware of all the obstacles and all the bureaucracy involved with moving country, as well as some of the problems that you can come up across as you set sail to Portugal. I've been here now myself for about 2.5 years or so. I'm in Albufeira. For those that are familiar with the south of Portugal, still very little Portuguese. I'm still, as I've always been with languages, as much as I try, very good with numbers, not too good with languages. Previous to Portugal, I was in Spain for 5 years in Malaga, and prior to Malaga, from Manchester in the UK. My background, I've been in the industry now for around 15 years. Holborn are not a Golden Visa company. We're not an estate agent, if you're unsure. We are a financial management company. We're a wealth management company, and one of the largest now in Europe. We have 20 offices globally. We manage in excess of $3 billion between those offices. And myself, again, based in Europe, I specialize working with those moving into Europe on a number of different topics. So the visa is, of course, all about getting you permission to live in Portugal. Alongside that is then making sure that you have the lifestyle and the money to enjoy living in Portugal. So on top of helping with the visa application, if you have any questions around financial planning, maybe the tax regime in Portugal, things like NHR, accountancy services, things, and any general questions about getting set up in Portugal, please do ask, and I will be as much help as I can. At the bottom of the screen, you'll find a little Q&A box. So please do use the Q&A box. That is the focus for this evening. I do already have quite a few questions that have been registered through Zoom whenever I'm registered for tonight's webinar. So I've covered those off, but anything on the slides as we go through that you'd like to ask, please do drop a message in the Q&A and we'll come to that at the end. So without further ado, just to introduce what the Golden Visa is. So if you're not already aware, the Golden Visa is permission to live and work or retire in Portugal. It is a full-time visa. It lasts for 2 years, and it is Europe's most successful citizenship program. Portugal is very much seen as the kind of gateway to Europe. It has the lowest entry requirements to qualify, and it has the fastest time to receive an EU passport. So during the visa period, you have full access to Portugal, and you have rights to travel visa-free to any of the European countries for up to 3 months at a time. Once you receive the passport, which comes after a period of 5 years, okay, that allows you to have then full access to live full-time in any of the EU states. So effectively, it's 26 or 27 passports all at the same time. The main attraction to the Golden Visa is that you only have to be in Portugal for just 2 weeks every 2 years in order to maintain the requirements. And once you have renewed the visa after the 2nd year, you renew again after the 4th year. And after you've held the visa for 5 years in total, that's when you can apply for citizenship. And then both yourself and your family can enjoy the benefits of not just Portugal, but the rest of Europe as well. It's been around now since 2012. There's been now over 11,000 successful applications. And my company, we've done now over 10% of the world's Golden Visa applications since the program was launched. And also pleased to say we maintain a 100% success rate on the applications as well. We carry out a lot of due diligence firstly on our clients to make sure that you meet the criteria for the government for the visa. And we also take a lot of due diligence on the properties that we recommend and the other investment avenues that we recommend before we put them to market to make sure that they qualify as well. So as far as Portugal, again, you probably wouldn't be on this webinar if you don't already know the benefits of living in Portugal. I am pretty biased. I think it is the best place in the world to live, hence why I'm here. But for those that maybe haven't had the chance to travel to Portugal just yet, it is a relatively big place. You have 3 main cities to choose from on the whole. The main kind of hubs are the Algarve down in the south, where it's typically a little warmer. The beaches are a little nicer. Should we say that the speed of life is a little bit slower, you could say, a little more relaxed compared to Lisbon and in the capital, which is very much more cosmopolitan and the main hub of Portugal. And then thirdly, you have Porto up in the north. So they're the main city centres. Personally, I don't think you're going to go far wrong anywhere close to the coast. Of course, you also have the option to live inland Portugal, where generally you don't find as much tourism. But it has some incredible landscapes to live inland as well. Apart from the quality of life, you get access to one of the best education systems, whether it be for you or for your children, anywhere in Europe as well. And also long-term healthcare. The state healthcare in Portugal is one of the best that you'll find and comes as a default benefit with the Golden Visa. Lastly, is another hot topic is the incentives from a tax perspective as well. Portugal offers a very unique tax regime for new residents that allows them to have a rate as low as 0 on certain types of overseas income during the first 10 years that they move to Portugal. So again, that in itself may be a reason to head over, but we'll come on to that now. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the tax, but it's a real interesting factor for those that are going to have an income coming into Portugal from abroad. So for those that, first of all, are going to have an income by way of dividends, whether that be a shareholding in a personal company, whether it be an investment portfolio, or those that have a rental income that will continue to be paid once they move to Portugal, those types of income can be exempt from tax entirely here in Portugal for the first 10 years. It's a real big plus for those. If you are still working, whether it be self-employed or employed, you can, within certain capacity, depending on your line of work, apply for a flat rate of just 20% income tax as well. Pension income, for those looking to retire in Portugal, you can enjoy a rate of just 10% during the first 10 years as well. And lastly, post NHR and during NHR, there are certain investment vehicles designed for Portuguese tax residents that allows a 60% discount on the tax payable on savings and investments interest as well. So loads there as well. If the sun wasn't enough to encourage you to move, maybe the taxes, but it's certainly a nice welcome during the first 10 years. Any questions on the NHR around your personal income or any specifics, again, please do drop in the Q&A or follow up with me after today's webinar. Okay, so what we all came here for, what is going on with the Golden Visa? Okay, we're very, very kind of far down the track now at this stage. The first announcement of the program being closed was actually back in 2020. Subsequently, the program wasn't closed, and the rules changed, or the criteria for what qualifies for the visa training. That all kind of quieting down, and life was back to normal. And then back in November last year, the Prime Minister announced that the program will be closing. Again, it was taken with a bit of a pinch of salt until again in February this year, it was a very public statement that without any doubt, the government intends to close in its entirety. So that was the first notice. There was then a public discussion. Okay, once it was formally announced from government, there was a chance for the public to have their vote on how they think would be the best way to solve the housing crisis in Portugal. The withdrawal of the program is ultimately a means to try to solve the housing price increase in Portugal and the lack of available housing. There's also some pressure from the EU around the Golden Visa as well. But in the main, the idea is that if there's no Golden Visa, there'll be less investment and property prices won't be as high. But there was a public discussion. There was a huge backlash from many different sectors in Portugal. Of course, the visa program has brought in literally billions of euros of income and investment to Portugal over the past 10 years. And then however many jobs created and entire industries created because of the influx in immigration and investment. So not everybody was very happy about the thought of the program closing. That was the chance for the public to put their vote forward, also discuss how they would feel that the problem could be solved. And long story short, the discussion went on for longer than 30 days. It was extended to the end of March, and the government basically considered everyone's comments, but the draft change in law that was printed was kept very similar. There was a few amendments, some silly things that the Prime Minister said were redacted. However, in the main, it stayed very similar. Thereafter, it then passed to Parliament. Parliament then had their say on whether or not they're happy with the current draft of the new law. To which it was voted and basically accepted pretty much in its current state. And then that was back last month in, I think, about the 19th of May. Thereafter, after the Parliament has voted on it, then goes to a special committee. There's a special committee designed specifically to look at the consideration of the removal of the Golden Visa. Now, over the past few weeks, that discussion has been ongoing. And the timeline keeps getting extended. It all went very quiet for a period of time. But then as of literally last week, we had the fantastic news that the Golden Visa is not going to be ended. After all, it is not going anywhere. The Golden Visa will stay in place. After all the headlines and all the panic, the program is not going to be stopped. The government is no longer seeking to close the program in its entirety. However, the negative of that, one thing that does remain the same, is that the government does want to continue with the program. However, they want to remove any type of property investment from qualifying. So that includes both residential and commercial property will no longer be considered for the Golden Visa once the new law, or I should say, if the new law is passed in its current state. The good news is there will be an option to invest into certain types of venture capital funds, which carry with them a whole new dimension of investment risk and planning of such. At the moment, it's still very unclear as to what the new rules will be and what type of investments will qualify. But one thing we do know for sure is that the draft law is still including the removal of all types of property investment. The next announcement will be on the 19th of July, at which point the President will have his say, and we'll find out whether or not it's going to be passed in its current form, whether or not it will be passed to the Constitutional Court, whether or not there'll be general changes requested, and ultimately if and when the programme is going to change and when those new laws come into play. So yeah, eagerly awaiting that at the moment. As it stands, just to be crystal clear, the Golden Visa programme is exactly the same now as it was a year ago. There have been no changes in law. Nothing has changed at this point. The Prime Minister and the government have confirmed that any applications submitted before the law actually changes will be honoured. Okay, so you have until the date that the law physically changes to submit your application for the visa. If so, you're okay. If not, then you'll be subject to whatever the new laws are, which, as we say, are likely to not include the option of investing into property. So more on that on the 19th. I'm sure my next webinar in a couple of weeks' time. When are we on now? Well, maybe not a couple of weeks. I'll probably do the next feature after that announcement to find out what's happening. But by that time, it's important that you understand it is very possible that it will be too late to start the process at that point. If the president does pass the law and it put into place imminently, it could be as early as the beginning of August when we see that law change process. Even if we escalate the whole process, and we can do everything within 4 weeks. It's about as fast as it can be done. Fast as we've done it is 10 days. But very unique. Often it takes longer. 4 weeks really is the minimum you want to give yourself. 4 to 6 weeks ideally to start from the point of reserving an investment to submitting the application. A lot of work involved, which we'll cover in a second. So my advice to everyone is that if this is something that you are looking to do and it's something that is important and you can do it, then do it now, because we don't know exactly how long we're going to have, and you don't want to be kind of leaving it right to the last minute to be touch and go whether or not your application is submitted in time before the law changes. So again, further time, just as a quick recap, in a worst case scenario, I would say end of July is theoretically possible. Personally, I'd say early August would be the earliest the law could change. And is the most likely. Some point in August is the most likely scenario. In this case, there is still a possibility that there is a grace period, maybe an extension later on this year. There's no real talks of that just yet. Nobody has mentioned a grace period, as we saw in Ireland earlier this year. So at the moment, we have to plan for the worst case scenario, and we hope for the best case scenario. Fingers crossed. But the best case scenario is already slightly better than I was expecting, because the program is not going to close, which is kind of good. 95% of applications are done with property investment. So even if it stays in place, it's going to be much different, be a lot different to what we're looking at the moment. So just to be clear, the plan for those looking to get involved with the Golden Visa, you can still apply. You do still have time. Which is the good news. You do still have time, but it is running low. In a worst case scenario, we may only have until August before the program changes, hugely. And we're going to need 4 to 6 weeks to be able to get bank accounts, tax numbers, purchase a property, submit your application, etc., etc. There's a lot involved. So now is the time. And what we need to do, we don't need to receive the visa before the law changes. We just need to have submitted your application. And those that have a tracking number of their application before the law changes will be protected under the current law, and their application will be honoured. So that's the goal. Hopefully that's nice and clear. I'll come to questions shortly. I was going to see if you're just popping up now. I will come back to those shortly. But that's what's involved. Hopefully that's nice and clear. Any questions on that, please do drop in the Q&A. Okay. As far as basics then. So the good news is, the good news is you can apply. There is time, you can do it, nothing has changed, you're okay. All guns blazing. So let's look at who can be part of the Golden Visa now. The way it works is that as long as you don't already have an EU passport, you can apply for the programme. And you can also include who are deemed to be dependent family members. Now, dependent family member can consist of, first of all, a spouse, whether married or unmarried is fine, as long as you live together. You can include children up to the age of 21, initially older if they're in full-time education. And you can also include parents, whether they're dependent or over the age of 65, at which point their dependency is automatically assumed by the government. Therefore, there is no evidence needed to prove that they are dependent. So it's all designed to bring three generations, if you will, family over to Portugal, children, parents, and of course, yourself as well. Any questions on who can qualify? Again, drop me a message and we'll clarify that for you. Now, as far as what are the qualifying investments? So I mentioned before that when the program was first talked about being closed, they ultimately didn't close, they just changed the rules. And the rules were changed on the 1st of January 2022. And the government made the decision to basically remove any residential property in the main cities from the program. So you can no longer qualify by investing into residential property in any of the Lisbon, Porto, or anywhere on the coast where you'll find tourism. Instead, you now must purchase into a commercial property, or in other words, it must be an investment, not somewhere for you to live or to move into, purely as an investment. You can still invest in residential property inland Portugal, but in the main cities where we see tourism, commercial property only. Now, the property price must be 500,000 by default. However, if it's in a low density area, that can come down to 400,000 qualify. That applies to both residential and commercial property. So residential property inland and commercial property on the coast or in the main cities. You can reduce that lower than 400, and the way to do so is to invest into a commercial project, which is a renovation, and where the building is over 30 years old. If so, the minimum can qualify as 350. And if you do that within a low density area, the minimum comes right down to 280,000 euros. As a general rule of thumb, you'll find that investments available at the 280 mark are less profitable. Okay, the goal generally with investments at 280 is to break even, maybe a small profit. At 400 and 500,000, you'll typically find the investments are much more profitable, but of course tie up a lot more capital as well. The benefit of investing at 280 is that you get exactly the same visa and exactly the same passport with half as much money, of course. And if you did invest the difference elsewhere, you could probably make up the difference in profits anyway. But that's the general rule of thumb. We over time have built a portfolio of investments that we have carried out our due diligence on, where we know is a good, long-standing and trusted, well-financed property developers that already have a quality portfolio in Portugal and offer some of the best incentives that you will find from those out there. We've built up property recommendations at both, well, all of them, 500, 400, 350 and 280. Investment options at 400 and 500 are now very thin on the ground, but still possible. 350 is fine, 280 is fine. Property is not the only option, okay? You can also invest into investment funds. There are certain rules, but you can invest into a Portuguese investment fund from 500,000. You can invest in scientific research in Portugal from 500,000. You can set up a business, or you can purchase a business from 500,000, or you can simply transfer 1.5 million euros into a Portuguese bank account. So those are the current rules. Like I say, 95% of applications in the last year have been through property for various reasons, but it's not the only option. As the current request, the change of law and the requirements, we will see property disappear, and we'll see the last one disappear of capital transfer. In the best case scenario, what is a worst case scenario in a way, we'll still have access to the investment funds, scientific research, and setting up a business. But everything on there you see in yellow is okay for now. Hope that's nice and clear. Again, any questions on what qualifies or anything around the property, and again, to discuss what properties are out there, book a meeting with me. We'll go through what is the latest availability, and we'll try and find something that fits within budget. Okay, so this is the process. It's a bit of a busy slide, so I'll just touch on a few parts. So myself and my team at Holborn, we do the full process for you, okay? There is a lot involved, but everything is done remotely. You do not need to leave your home until 6 months after we submit the application, because you will need to fly to Portugal to do your biometrics for your fingerprints and your photo. But up until that point, we do everything remotely. Okay? Everything I'm talking now on Zoom Any original documents required, we send a courier to collect those from your home address. You meet with a lawyer, you complete the paperwork all remotely. Try and make it as easy as we can. We like to be as proactive as possible. You have an update, you have a point of contact on a regular basis so that you know exactly what stage of the process that we're up to. But step one is to find an investment. I'll have a look at the qualifying investments. The best thing to do is to book a meeting with myself. I'll give you an overview of how you can qualify, the different investment options out there, and then we'll look to agree on one that meets your requirements and look to reserve the investment. Once we've done that, we can go to work. We first of all need to set up your tax number. Okay, I'll refer to as your NIF. It doesn't take too long, 5 to 7 days to get the NIF number. What we used to do then is set up the bank account. However, as of the recent announcement, we now do the bank account after we submit your application. The time to set up a bank account is around about 8 weeks on average. So in theory, we don't have enough time now to set up bank accounts remotely. Instead, you can either transfer directly to the lawyer's escrow account, or you can fly into Portugal to set up a bank account on the same day. More often than not, it is easiest and fastest simply to use your lawyer's escrow account, but either of those options is fine. Thereafter, you will meet with the lawyer. You will go through the legal agreements, you'll complete power of attorney, and you'll complete the deed. Okay, become the owner of the property, or you'll invest into the fund, however you see fit. And once that is done, we can then submit your application. That's it. As soon as the property purchase is complete, we can submit your application. We get the tracking number from SEF, and you can relax. That's all we need to do before the deadline. Thereafter, there'll be around about 12 months from that time to receive the visa. 6 months thereafter will be your appointment with SEF. You'll have the lawyer accompany you to the office to meet with SEF, to help with any translation on the day. SEF, for those not aware, is the kind of borders agency, if you like, for Portugal. And you'll need to go to a local office in Portugal to do your fingerprints and take your photo. Thereafter, you'll get your card, which will look a little bit like this at the bottom. It's not golden, unfortunately. It's not actually a golden visa, but it is a visa. And it will be one that will last for 2 years. And after the first 2 years, we can renew that for another 2 years. And once you've held it for 5 years in total, you, on the basis that you have learnt a basic level of Portuguese, okay, to an A2 level, it's kind of like a high school equivalent, okay, of Portuguese. It's not too taxing. I say that. I don't do very well with languages, but for anyone that is half literate when it comes to learning languages, it's taken the majority of our clients around 3 months to start from scratch to get into that basic level. But you've got 5 years to do a bit of study, and the only other criteria is to keep a clean criminal record. Okay, so as long as you learn Portuguese, you don't get in trouble with the law, and you've kept hold of the qualifying investment, then you will be able to apply for permanent residency after 5 years, and also your passport and of course the citizenship. And at that point is when you effectively have 26 passports all at the same time, 27, should I say? And that's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Okay, getting that passport later in the process. The passport, for those that aren't aware, allows you to travel visa-free to over 187 countries worldwide, and also allows you to live full-time in any of the EU states from that point. Well, that's okay. I'm just take a break for a sec. We're doing okay for time. Right, so I hope that's nice and clear. Again, any questions on the process, please do ask in the Q&A, and we'll come back to that shortly. A quick recap. Step one, you must find an investment that you like, make sure that it qualifies for the program, and then we look to submit your application in the time that we have left before the law changes, and that will take, again, I would guide you, it's 4 to 6 weeks as a guide at the moment. The process itself will take 12 months to receive the visa. We'll renew after year 2, we renew again after year 4, and after year 5, we can apply for your passport. Piece of cake, and then you can come and see me. You can see me in Portugal. You can come and see me in Portugal straight away, I suppose. But after like I say, after you've got your passport, you can travel anywhere you like in Europe. I'm just going to give you 2 very quick examples on the property front. The availability for property is changing literally daily at the moment. So, like I said, we have compiled a portfolio of property investments that do currently qualify. To go through those, please do book a meeting and we'll go through those in their entirety. We can go through the costings together. We can provide brochures. We can ask all the questions that you have, but book a meeting. Let's get through those questions as quick as we can in the time that we have left. As a guide, there's two new developments that have come to market in the past few weeks, qualifying at 280. And there is a new development in the Algarve, not too far from where I live, right on the south coast. And it will be a Hard Rock hotel. It's a very futuristic looking hotel here at the bottom. And this will qualify as a 5-star Hard Rock hotel. And the proposition is to buy a share, to buy a co-ownership or a part ownership of the hotel. And you can do so for €280,000. Developer is one of Portugal's biggest developers. They have a portfolio of over 40 hotels already built here in Portugal as well. They covered the cost of the VAT on the refurbishment. The IMT, although paid initially, please note that it's come to our attention that the IMT is actually deferred. It's actually quite a big tax. For those that have bought in Portugal, the IMT is often about 5 to 10% of the purchase price in tax. Some developers will pay that for you, some don't. This one defers it until the buyback. So you've been mindful of that. They do have a buyback. It's a guaranteed mandatory buyback. It's a real plus with this particular development. So once you have received your passports, you can trigger the buyback and the developer will purchase the share back off you at the same price, 280,000. And it's a release of capital. Okay, very simple. There is no option. You have to sell it back. They have to buy it back. But you know that regardless of property prices going up or down, that 280 will be coming back once you have your passport. You don't have to get the passport to get the money back. They are two separate agreements, but the idea is that you can keep it for as long as you need up until your passport is granted. The other incentive for this one is that they will allow you to stay for 7 days in any of the hotels that they built in Portugal. There's some really nice 4 and 5-star hotels up and down Portugal. Any of which you can stay in for 7 days free of charge every year, which is coincidentally the minimum stay requirement to maintain your visa. So it's all factored in. So that's door number one. Door number two at 280. Personal favourite at the moment is a Wyndham hotel in the north of Portugal. It's a 4-star hotel, much smaller, due completion next year. Okay, it's going to be a Wyndham Gardens development. Look exactly as you see there in the photos when all done. The pros with them, this one again, it's another co-ownership program. So you buy a share of the hotel. With this one, the developer pays both the IMT and the VAT. They pay the IMT in its entirety, which is a huge saving. They'll have a guaranteed buyback. Okay, so you have a buyback after you receive the citizenship. The big incentive for this one, however, is they also will offer an upfront rental payment of €30,000. So the hotel is going to be built around this time next year, or renovated, shall I say. And of course, there's going to be a period of time when the hotel will be rented out. So with this one, the developer is offering to pay you as the investor €30,000 off that rental income, basically as soon as you complete the deed. Okay, and that can be used to reimburse the money that you've paid for things like the government fees and taxes. There's no taxes, I suppose, with this one, but government fees, legal fees as well. And again, you can stay for 7 days free of charge each year. You have to please excuse the full title deed option. The full title deed is not confirmed just yet. There may be a title deed option on the Hard Rock Hotel to be confirmed as well, but you can ignore that for the time being. Right now, we've got a co-ownership option at 280 both on this and the Hard Rock. This is officially the lowest capital route to the visa right now. It's been available for now 3 weeks. It sold 30% in the first week it was released. But still pretty good availability. That's still about 20 slots left at last check earlier this week. I've added this one back in. This development was sold out. There has been one apartment come on back up for sale. So it's on a first come first serve basis. This was one of my favourite developments in Alvor in the Algarve. This hotel is already built. It's already on booking.com. It's currently called the Yellow Alvor Garden. And the hotel is, instead of co-ownership, with this one you actually purchase the full title deed of an individual apartment. This photo was taken in summertime last year. Okay, it's currently a 4-star hotel. It's pretty run down. It's probably not had a lick of paint, I would say, since the year 2000. You can tell by all the very bright coloured paint, which I think was the fashion back in the year 2000. But it has closed now. It closed as of January this year. The renovation has now started, and when it's all done, it will be an as new 4-star all-inclusive hotel. I'm not entirely sure which apartment has come back up for sale. I just know one has come back up. It'll be priced between 280 and 295. The developer pays all the taxes. Okay, the developer pays the IMT, stamp duty, VAT, the lot. There is a buyback. The difference with this one is that you have an optional buyback, so you don't have to sell it back. You can keep it if you wish. And you can either sell it on the open market, which of course you would do if property prices have increased over the next 5 years. If they go down in the next 5 years, then you would, of course, trigger the buyback of the original purchase price. So that's a plus. You have a bit more control over when you sell it back with a title deed. The rental income, there isn't any rental income during the first 6 years, but if you do decide to keep it after that time, the hotel will basically pay you 50% of the rental income. You leave the keys with them. They do all the insurance, the maintenance, the cleaning, the check-ins, and they simply just pay you 50% of the rental each year, which works out around about 5 to 6% to the investor each year. And lastly, you can stay for 2 weeks. 2 weeks at this one instead of just the one. Very nice place to stay in the Algarve, very family friendly, and the extra week may come handy. It's not as flexible as the other two. Of course, you have 2 weeks in this hotel rather than 1 week in a choice of hotels with the earlier two. But overall, for those that prefer full title deed ownership in the Algarve, this is a great development. And like I say, it's already done pretty much, just waiting the renovation to be finished. Other than that, 350, there's a development we like in the centre of Lisbon. Okay, again, it's another co-ownership project, very near the waterfront. It's qualifying at 350. Okay. Again, big developer. It's the same developer as the Hard Rock Hotel. The developer offers, again, to defer the IMT tax until this buyback at the end of the term. They do, however, have a buyback guaranteed. After you receive your passport, you've still got the 7 days free stay, and also they pay a return of 3% per year from when the hotel is finished, which will work out around about €10,000 overall. So it just depends whether or not you would prefer to invest at 350 for a little extra return, or go in at 280 and invest elsewhere, I suppose. Yeah, personal preference, but it's a good, like I say, a solid option there at 350. That's all I'm going to cover today. There's a bit of a snapshot on those. Like I said, there's different options available. The availability is changing on a daily basis. There are developments of 400 and 500 with bigger rental incomes and often more incentives. Like I said, availability is scarce, but please do. I've come up to technology now. I've improved my webinar display. You've now got a little QR code. So for those that are familiar with the QR code, you can use your phone to scan that code, and it should take you right through to my calendar. You're very welcome to book a consultation. I can go into more detail on anything that we've covered today and go through any questions that you have as well. There's no charge for the consultation. Just a chance for us to talk on a one-to-one basis, and we can run through personalized costings. Okay, Holborn don't charge any fees ourselves. Okay, our fees are covered by the different developers for facilitating, of course, the whole Golden Visa transaction. The fees generally are broken down simply into your Golden Visa government fees and legal fees as well. But we'll go through those depending on which developments that you like and how many family members you'd like to include as well. There will be a copy of the webinar this afternoon that will go out later this week. But please do drop me an email just to make sure that comes out to you as well. I do have a tax guide for Portugal. If you'd like me to send out the tax guide, it gives you a rundown on everything that you need to know. Really exciting, send you to sleep kind of brochure with some nice pictures in it, but it's got everything that you need to know if you're becoming tax resident in Portugal. Other than that, I think I've covered the majority there. So I'll get stuck into the questions. We're doing well for time. So I'll start with questions that have come in there. Hi there, Niraj. Thank you for this session. Will the recording be sent to us afterwards? I have to hop off. I'm like, yes, will indeed, Niraj. We'll get that out to you. No. Hi there, Paul. Is the Golden Passport the same as the Golden Visa? The Golden Visa is the only one of those two, Paul. There isn't a Golden Passport. The Golden Visa leads to a European passport. Okay, so Golden Visa is the initial residency stage. Okay, that's the 2-year visa that you renew every 2 years. Once you've held it for 5 years in total, that's when you apply for citizenship, which is your Portuguese passport, in turn, which is a European passport that allows you then to move to any of the European countries. Hopefully that's nothing clear. Hi there, Patricia. Yes, we're interested in submitting for Golden Visa. Our plan was to purchase property. We have a son, 39 years old, is on SSI. Does he qualify to come with us? Yeah, potentially so, Patricia. If we can prove dependency, financial dependency for your son, yeah, don't see why not. It is there for, like I say, dependent children or those up to a certain age. If he's dependent on you, that is fine. Yeah, no problem. If you send me an email, Patricia, or like I say, book a meeting with the QR code there, we'll go through it in some detail, and I'll break it all down for you. But it sounds fine, no problem. Hi there, Anonymous. So under the new rules last year, a $280,000 investment is no longer allowed. Only the entrepreneur investment. I'm not too sure on what you mean there, Anonymous. So 280,000 does still qualify. Okay, on the new rules, it does qualify, but it has to meet certain criteria. It has to be a commercial property. It has to be a building that's over 30 years old and has been fully renovated in a low density area. There's a lot of hoops to jump through to qualify at 280, but you can still do that. That is okay for the Golden Visa. Do you only work with Portuguese Golden Visas or other EU countries as well? What is your fee? Portugal is one of many programs that we offer. We also offer a route to Cyprus, to Malta, to Greece, to the US, to the Caribbean islands. There is many indeed. We don't charge any fees for the advice. We generally don't charge any fees at any point. It is more often that we're paid by the developers as opposed to charging our clients a fee. But yeah, book a call, we'll go through it, and I'll give you the full options on what other countries are available outside of Portugal. Hi there, Brandy. Nice to meet you. What are the costs of Holborn managing the process? Again, Brandy, there's no cost involved for Holborn. Only costs are the legal fees that you pay and the government fees, basically. So yeah, book a meeting and I'll give you a full personalised cost breakdown. Just let me know which development is of interest, how many family members you'd like to include on the visa, and it takes 2 minutes to go through the costings with you. Hi there, Paul. What is the new process? What is the new process with SEF going away? What if we already have an application in process? What is the new process with SEF? SEF is being replaced. It's not going to impact any existing applications. Paul, you're okay. Yeah, business as normal. Don't worry. If you've already got an application, as long as it's submitted, you're okay. No problem. Probably speed up, if anything. Probably get the visa a little quicker. Is the Hard Rock Hotel like a timeshare? It has some similarities to a timeshare by way that you can stay there for some time. But no, it is entirely different because, of course, you own the hotel. You are on the deeds to the hotel. Whereas a timeshare, you simply have an agreement with a holiday company to book some weeks. But no, you are an owner of the hotel, so not at all like timeshare. I would like the recording to show my husband. No problem, Anonymous. If you let me know who you are, I will fire it straight out to you. No problem. I'll have the recording on YouTube over the next couple of days. Can the investment be financed, or does the total investment need to be paid up front? It needs to be paid cash up to the figure that it qualifies for the visa. So if it qualifies at 280, I have to be cash at 280. If it qualifies at 280, but it costs 500, then you can mortgage above 500. But that again more applies to residential property. It is near to impossible to mortgage a commercial property that we're now choosing from abroad. So in short, it is cash. However, you can finance elsewhere, as long as it's not financed on the property in question, you can remortgage a property in your home country. You can borrow money from elsewhere however you wish. Just the property in question must be purchased as cash. Hi there, Niraj. Family, 2 parents, 2 teens for passport. Do all 4 have to be fluent in language for the final passport? You do, Niraj, yes. Not fluent, you don't have to be fluent, but you have to have a basic understanding. You probably find that your kids are probably picking up faster than you as well. But yeah, everyone that wants to achieve citizenship will need to learn a basic level of Portuguese. You don't have to apply for the citizenship as well, which is a point worth noting. If you don't want to do the Portuguese straight away, you can continue to extend the visa. You can extend the visa for as long as you like. But yes, in part of applying for citizenship, everyone will need to know the Portuguese to a basic level. Hi there, Sue. I have a UK passport with a spouse holding an EU passport. Will they qualify for the benefits of the visa, i.e. the tax benefits? Well, the tax benefits are not linked to the visa, Sue. The tax benefits are available to anyone that simply lives in Portugal. If you're supposed to live in Portugal, you do need to have a visa. But if you live in Portugal, you can apply for NHR. So if you and your spouse are moving to Portugal, and once you live in Portugal, yes, you can both benefit from NHR. That's fine, and we can help you to register for NHR. But it's not linked to your passport. It doesn't matter what passport you have as such. The only difference between you and your spouse is that your spouse already has rights to live in Portugal with a European passport, whereas you don't, unless you are married. And there may be a possibility for you to join as well. But yeah, passport's not linked, visa's not linked to the tax status. It is entirely separate, but hopefully that clarifies that bit as well. But yeah, both have access to the tax benefits, so just need to apply for NHR when you move to Portugal. Okay, super. Some good questions coming in there. Just a few, let's just run through a few from the registrations, make sure I've covered everything off. Is there any age limit to apply? No. Portugal, it does not discriminate against young people or old people. They will acceptance of all ages. No problem. Hi there, Mustafa. Can we still apply? Yep, we've covered that off. Can we still apply? What are the options for? Okay. Hi there, Hidari. What are the options to get a visa for young children of 2 to 10 years for education in Portugal? Yeah, so with the Golden Visa for yourself, Hidari, your children will have full access to the education system of Portugal. And yeah, after they have passports, you'll have the option to choose anywhere in Europe for them to study. One of the main reasons why the program is so popular, not necessarily for you, but perhaps for children and their future as well. Okay, right, we've covered that one. Okay, we've covered that one. Fine. Yeah, another question about children. So, university students, fine. Yep, if they're in full-time education, we can add them as dependents, no problem. How do I include my 28-year-old daughter that is not a dependent? We might not be able to do so, Jodie, but if she isn't enrolled in a full-time education, there might be a possibility, but in the main, we need to prove she's dependent in some way. Otherwise, depending on your age, Jodie, we could put the application in your daughter's name and then add you as a dependent. So again, not that I want to offend you, Jodie, but if you're over the age of 65, no evidence is required to prove your dependency. But we'll do some brainstorming, book a call, and we'll see if we can find a way around it. Okay, right. Can one invest into a business? Yep, we've covered that off. So you can invest into a business to qualify from 500,000 euros. What is the least expensive way to get the Golden Visa in Portugal? Okay, so as we covered before, Stephen, it is the Wyndham Garden development at the moment, which is effectively 250,000 with a buyback at 280, and it pays 30,000 euros cash back as soon as you complete the deed. Is it too late to get the Golden Visa for residential property? Formally, no, it's not. You can still submit an application for residential property. The difference between residential and commercial, however, is a residential property is for somewhere to live. It's very much a decision you make with your heart rather than your head. And if you're going to pick somewhere to live, you're probably going to want to visit the place. You're probably going to want to see what the area is like, find a nice house, because it's a big lifestyle commitment, maybe for many years to come. That's a lot to do in the next week or so. So arguably, it probably is a bit too late for residential property. Of course, with commercial investments, you can make decisions based on the facts and the figures and the information that you have, rather than maybe looking at a personal attachment for somewhere to live. It's much easier to do that. But yeah, if you have somewhere in place, you could still apply at this time. Okay, right. We all covered the rest of those. Brilliant. Got one more question coming in there. Healthcare insights. Healthcare insights. Healthcare insights. Yeah, healthcare insights. Healthcare is very good. Healthcare is officially, I think, the 5th or 6th best healthcare system in the world in Portugal. So yeah, can save a small fortune over here in Portugal, certainly compared to some parts of the world. But hopefully I've covered enough detail there today to give you a bit of an idea. I know I've been talking quite quickly throughout, lots to cover. As I say, please do get in contact, book a meeting to go into any further details. Any information you need from me, just ask. The next feature for Portugal.com will be likely in a few weeks' time. Hopefully I'll be giving good news that we've got some more time with the program. But at this point, I don't have any more news to share on how long we're going to have it for past August. But thanks everyone for joining. I hope that was helpful. Look forward to speaking with everyone soon. And I wish you all the best. And yeah, hope to see you actually in Portugal in the not too distant future. Thank you much.